While playing Chaos Lands, you can find the alchemy table, but the alchemy table doesn't do anything yet. If you click on it, a menu opens where you can see which items you have crafted, but you can't craft any items. So let's change that in this video. First, we want to create a selection where you can select items just like the blacksmith. So I will show you how the blacksmith the forge works. You can move to the forge, click on forge and select an item, and that's what we want to do for the alchemy table as well. So therefore we need a button to open a new menu. So let's create this button. So what we want to do is create a button in this frame. So therefore we call add button on the frame, and let's check if we can copy the template from somewhere else. Rocket, this is not a nice template we can use. Next turn also. Quit, keep playing. So we can use this as template and adjust it as we want. So therefore we call add button. We need a start position, top position, and a size. So the size, let's just take the position of one text and adjust it later. The button needs a new key, so we call it just button alchemy. And here's something wrong. I think this has to be deleted. Just like that. And when we are creating a text, when we are creating a button, we also have to create a text and input this text for the button so that the button has a label. We need to add a label, so this will be open alchemy for now. The position has to be a rectangle, and there we are just entering something. I think it doesn't matter what we enter here, so just enter something. The text size, or maybe I will also look if I find a text that I can adjust. This looks good. So here we have our text, and adjust it as we want to, as we need to. Small, this should be fine, and then we can just enter this alchemy text into the button, and now the button has a label. When we pressing the button, here we can define what should happen when we press the button, and what we want to do is we want to load a scene. We want to load the scene. We want to load a new scene that isn't defined yet. So here we have a list of scenes, and here we're creating a new scene. And this will be called alchemy table. And then we're opening the scene. We are saying load scene, alchemy table. Let me check how this works. Something is wrong. What's wrong? Load scene. Maybe we have to call it on this. So we want to open the alchemy table, and we have to enter the current world. So, and now if we click the button, the alchemy scene should open. And now we have to define the alchemy scene. So therefore, we are going to the position where every scene is defined. This is also in this class. Here you can see every scene is checked. If the scene is, for example, loading, then you can see the loading screen. And now we have a new scene. So we have to create a new code part and call it alchemy table. And if this scene is equal to alchemy table, we want to show something comparable to the forge scene. So let me check where the forge scene is. We can just check the forge menu. Is the name forge menu? Okay. And then I will take some parts of this further at the beginning and just paste it here, and this should be fine. If we adjust it a little bit, it shouldn't be called craft menu, it should be alchemy menu. Set the frames should be the same. The text shouldn't be forge. It should be alchemy. Alchemy. Chemie. And here is the German word. And so now we have the correct headline. We want this button because we want to get back to the world scene. And here we can define what we want to craft. So we want to create this alchemy table for potions. So therefore, let's check what we got for potions. Item potion of poison. Item potion. Okay, so let's begin by the default potions, not by the throwing potions. We pick healing. Item potion of poison. Potion of resistance. Potion of strength. And the last will be potion of weakness. And let's check if it's working. We are getting some errors. Let's check what the problem is. Because a different enumeration has also this name, so let's call it scene alchemy table. Scene alchemy table. Now it should compile. So let's check how the frame looks like. So nothing changed. We didn't get a button. What's the problem? So maybe the position is wrong of the button. But it should be displayed over the status. But it's not showing. Alchemy station, add button. And I just found that the error. here is a vector of 1 and has a 0 and a 1, and this indicates in which state the object should be shown. So if the value is 0, then the first state doesn't show this obstacle, not the obstacle, this frame, this button, and the second state shows this button. But since we don't change the state of the frame, the button isn't showing. So let's start again and check if we can see the button. So now the vector is 1, 1, so we should see the button. And voila, we have the button. And now the button has to be on a nicer position and the size has to be adjusted because it's scaled weirdly. So let's copy the size from the attack and interact button and just move it a little bit downwards so it's not overlapping with the text. And I don't care that it's not inside of the frame, that's not that important for now. So let's do that. So first we want to adjust the size of the button. Therefore we copy the size of the attack button. So let's search for this button. Add obstacle attack button creates this button, and here we have, so with the position, we don't need the position, we just need the size, and the size is this and this. So let's copy everything, and here we create this button box size, and then we have this button box size and use this as the width and the height of the button. And now the position has to be adjusted a little bit, so that's a good question how we do that. I think I will just think a moment about this. So we have this window. The window is 190 in width, and this button is 140 in width. So we calculate 190 minus 140, that is 50, and 50 divided by 2 is 25. So 25 should be a good value. And the button should be a little bit lower. So let's set this value to the Y position to 230. So here's the button. It's not in the middle. That's a little bit sad. I am not sure why. But the size is adjusted and looks fine that way. And if we press open alchemy, we can see that we have the potions that we just added to the scene, and that we can craft this. If we hit it, the game crashes. That's something we have to look at. And I think that will be the next thing we do. So if we're pressing, if we want to craft, if we want to brew a potion, something crashes. And I think I know what the problem is. When we are crafting something, we need the craft trait to be enabled, but for the alchemy table, the craft trait is not available. So let's check the stack trace. We're trying to check if this is a player. So I will place a new alchemy table and I will set the correct team. The team will be index 0. This is the player. And now we still get the crash. But what's happening? Player. Builder. Set craft mode. Okay, so if the scene is settings, scenes, alchemy table, the builder is the storage obstacle, because this is the alchemy table. The focused obstacle is the player or the unit of the player. And now we say okay, so if we are in the scene alchemy table and the storage obstacle is of type alchemy table, then we set the storage obstacle to builder. We check if the craft trait is not 0, but at the moment the craft trait will be 0 because the alchemy table doesn't use the craft trait, and then we're setting the item to craft. So the last thing we do is we are setting in the constructor of the obstacle, we will set the craft trait of the alchemy table. Gear, inventory. Craft trait. Furnace, factory, bonfire, crops. But that's the rest craft trait. We need the default craft trait. Okay, it should work now. Because the craft, every obstacle gets a craft trait, so this should be no problem. And let's try it. So we want to craft a potion of healing. Potion of healing finished in 5 turns. And it crashes again. Flat ID. Okay, we have to go and debug again to get the error. What's happening? Get item 8. Okay. We're checking if the type is 30, and I think 30 should be the forge. So let me replace this. Settings. Obstacles. I think blacksmith is that, yes. So if the type is blacksmith, or the type is alchemy table, we want to execute this part of the code. And now, because this is the part that gets executed every turn, when you press next turn, this code gets executed and it checks if there are turns left for the crafting time, and if there is no time left, if it's 0, then the item will be placed in the inventory. And we are using, and there's the inventory. This works for the storage obstacles and for the normal obstacles. And So open the alchemy table. Let's try to make a potion of poison. And it still crashes. Maybe the alchemy table doesn't have an inventory. Get inventory. Slots. Let's check if this is null. This is null, so the alchemy table doesn't have an inventory. So let's go back to the constructor. And the crafting worked, but the game didn't crash, but we didn't get the item in the crafting slot. Or maybe it's just not displaying. This also could be. I have an idea. We will craft more items. And if the crafting gets stuck, we know if the items get in the inventory or if they are just deleted. And yet now you can see the crafting got stuck, so the inventory works, but the items are not showing correctly. So why is this? So here we create the item with HP bars. Everything looks fine, but here we are setting it to false. Maybe it has to be false, maybe. Alchemy station, create track frame with HP bar. So it should. I think we have to create a new word. No. So now we check. So the items inventory 9. Armor bonus. This is the inventory of a unit. Again, the inventory of a unit. So the inventory is not updated. But why? Inventory cheat, update, and inventory. Maybe because the name of the frame doesn't contain inventory. Alchemy table. Yeah, it's just F alchemy station, and now the frame should update. And now the item is also showing. So let's try to craft something. A poison of resistance. And it's there, and we yes, we can get it. And that's fine. The last thing we are going to do in this video is to adjust the position of this button, because it's not looking too nice here and a little bit too far to the left side. So it should be a little more on the right side. So let's do this at the end. Now it's in the middle. So that's fine for now.